The sky was burning. Pressed her thin fingers against the control panel and watched another city disappear beneath a wall of fire. The once a paradise of floating gardens and crystal towers was dying, and she was one of the last people still alive to witness it. The communications center shook as another explosion hit somewhere close. Dust fell from the ceiling, coughed and wiped her large, golden eyes. Her feathered arms trembled as she worked the ancient equipment. Around her, the bodies of her colleagues lay still and cold. She was alone now. They had come 3 days ago. Their ships had filled the sky like a swarm of metal insects. They had no weapons. They had no army. For 10,000 years they had lived in peace, creating art and music and beauty. They had believed the galaxy was kind. They were wrong. People were small and delicate. Their bones were hollow like birds. Their skin was soft and covered in fine, colorful feathers. They lived on a world with gentle gravity and clean air. They had never needed to be strong. They were the opposite. They were conquerors. They moved from world to world, taking everything and leaving nothing behind. They did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They simply destroyed. Looked at the old beacon in the corner of the room. It was covered in dust and had not been used in 3,000 years. The Galactic Founding Treaty said that any species in danger could activate it. The signal would reach every corner of the galaxy. Someone would come to help. At least that was the promise. Walked to the beacon on shaking legs. She knew the truth. No one would come. They were too powerful. Every species in the galaxy feared them. Answering this signal would mean war, and no one wanted war with the Dominion. But she had to try, for her people, for the children hiding in the shelters below ground, for everyone who had already died. She pressed the activation button. The beacon hummed to life. A pulse of energy shot upward through the broken ceiling and into space. The signal spread outward at impossible speed, reaching across light years in moments. It carried a simple message in every known language. "Help us, we are dying, please help us." Sat down on the floor and waited for an answer she did not expect to receive. Far across the galaxy, on the edge of explored space, the human fleet was conducting training exercises. Captain Ho stood on the bridge of the UENS Indomitable and watched his crew work. The ship was massive, built for war in a universe that humanity had only recently discovered. Humans had joined the galactic community just 50 years ago, and they were still considered newcomers. Many species did not trust them. Some species feared them. Ho understood why. Humans came from Earth, a world that other species called a death world. The gravity was crushing. The atmosphere was filled with toxic gases like oxygen. The weather was violent and unpredictable. Dangerous predators lived in every environment. And yet humans had not just survived there. They had thrived. To the rest of the galaxy, humans were monsters. The communications officer, a young woman named Bora, suddenly sat up straight in her chair. Her eyes went wide. "Captain," she said, "we are receiving a signal. It is the emergency beacon, the one from the founding treaty." Ho turned to look at her. "That beacon has not been used in 3,000 years. "I know, sir, but it is active now. The signal is coming from the—" Ho walked to her station and looked at the data on her screen. He knew them, a peaceful species, artists and musicians. They had been kind to humanity during first contact, when most species had looked at humans with fear and disgust. "What is happening to them?" he asked. Bora's face grew pale. "Invasion, sir, the reports say. They are killing everyone. They have no defenses, no military. They are being slaughtered." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew about They were the galaxy's most feared conquerors. Dozens of species had fallen to them. The Galactic Council always talked about stopping them but never did anything. Ho made his decision in less than a second. "Contact Admiral Jin," he said. "Tell her we need to respond to this signal." His first officer, a tall man named Dong Ho, stepped forward. "Sir, they have over 500 warships. We have 200, and we are new to this galaxy. If we intervene, we could start a war with the entire Dominion." "I know the numbers," Ho said calmly. "Contact the Admiral." 20 minutes later, Ho was speaking with Admiral Jin through the ship's communication system. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had led humanity's fleet for 15 years. "The Galactic Council will not support us," she said. "I have already received messages from several species asking us to ignore the signal. They are afraid." "I understand," Ho said, "but they helped us when no one else would. They spoke for us at the council. They treated us like equals when everyone else called us monsters." Admiral Jin was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, but it held something dangerous. "Prepare the fleet," she said. "All 200 ships, we leave in 1 hour." Ho felt his heart beat faster. "Yes, Admiral." "And Captain, let the galaxy watch. Let them see what happens when someone asks humanity for help." The signal was sent to every human vessel in the sector. Within minutes, engines powered up and weapons systems came online. The Third Expeditionary Fleet, 200 warships carrying 50,000 human soldiers, began moving toward space. At the Galactic Council, representatives from dozens of species watched in disbelief. The humans were actually responding. They were going to war. An ancient creature who had lived for 800 years stood before the council chamber. "Fools," someone whispered, "they will destroy them." Said nothing. He remembered the humans from their first contact 50 years ago. He remembered how their ambassador had fallen from a great height during a diplomatic ceremony. Any other species would have died. The human had stood up, brushed dust from her clothing, and apologized for the inconvenience. He remembered how humans needed no environmental suits, how they could breathe toxic air and survive in crushing gravity, how they kept moving after injuries that would kill any other species, how they smiled, showing their teeth like predators about to hunt. No thought, they had no idea what was coming. Onda still sat beside the beacon. Her hope had faded. Hours had passed. No one had answered. Her people were still dying. Then her communication panel lit up with an incoming message. She crawled to it and pressed the receive button with trembling fingers. A human face appeared on the screen. Male, strong features, dark eyes filled with something she did not recognize at first. Then she understood. It was anger, but not anger at her. Anger for her. "This is Captain Ho of the United Earth Navy ship Indomitable," the human said. "We received your signal. Hold on. We are coming." Began to cry. Far away in his command ship above the burning planet, the warlord Thresh received a report from his intelligence officers. A human fleet was approaching. 200 ships. Thresh laughed. He had heard stories about the primitive creatures from a dangerous planet, newcomers to the galaxy. What could they possibly do against his 500 warships? He would destroy them along with the... He returned to watching the planet burn, not knowing that in a few short hours, he would learn exactly why humanity's world had been quarantined for so long. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so loud. Representatives from over 60 species filled the massive hall, their voices mixing into a storm of panic and confusion. Holographic displays showed the human fleet moving through space at impossible speed. 200 warships, all heading toward the system. Stood at his platform and watched the chaos around him. He had lived for 800 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had witnessed first contact with dozens of species, but he had never seen anything like this. "They are insane," shouted the delegate, a small creature covered in blue scales. "They will destroy them and then they will come for us. The humans have doomed us all." "Perhaps we should contact the," suggested the Pelian ambassador, her multiple eyes blinking nervously. We can explain that humans do not represent the council. We can distance ourselves from this action. More voices joined in, all speaking over each other. Fear filled the room like a poison. Raised one of his long, thin arms and waited. Slowly, the chamber grew quiet. When he spoke, his voice was old but strong. "You do not understand what is happening," he said. The delegates looked at him with confusion. The said impatiently, "We understand perfectly. The humans are attacking This is suicide. They are a young species. They have only been part of our community for 50 years. They cannot possibly win against the Dominion." Shook his head slowly. "You are young. You do not remember, but I remember. I was there when we first made contact with humanity." The chamber fell completely silent. "I was there," continued, "when we discovered their home world, when we sent a team to study them, when we realized what they truly were." He pressed a button on his platform. A holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a planet, blue and green and beautiful. "Earth," said, "the humans call it home, we call it something else. We call it a death world." The image changed, showing data and statistics. Gravity, 1.0 standard units. This is crushing by galactic standards. Most of you would not be able to stand on Earth's surface. Your bones would break under your own weight. More images appeared: storms, volcanoes, earthquakes. Their planet is geologically active. The ground shakes, mountains explode, walls of water sweep across the land. The weather can change from peaceful to deadly in moments. The delegates watched with growing horror. Their atmosphere contains oxygen, pure oxygen. To most species, this is a toxic, flammable gas. Humans breathe it constantly. They need it to survive. The images showed Earth's wildlife now. Predators with sharp teeth, venomous creatures, animals that killed for food, for territory, for no reason at all. Their world is filled with dangerous life forms, and humans are not at the bottom of this food chain. They are at the top. They are apex predators. They hunted everything else into submission. Paused to let his words sink in. "When we first studied humans, we could not believe what we found. Their bodies repair themselves. Broken bones grow back together. Damaged skin heals. They can lose blood and keep functioning. They can operate through pain that would put any of you into shock." He pulled up another image. It showed a human running. They practice something called persistence hunting. They chase their prey not by being faster, but by never stopping. They run and run and run until their target collapses from exhaustion. They are not the fastest creatures in the galaxy, but they have the most endurance. They simply do not stop. The delegate's scales had turned pale. "Why are you telling us this?" "Because you need to understand what they are about to face," said. "When we realized what humans were, we made a decision. We quarantined their planet. We told the galaxy that Earth was too dangerous to visit. We let humans believe they were alone in the universe." "But they found out," someone said. "Yes, 50 years ago, a human spacecraft reached beyond their solar system. They found us, and we could no longer hide." This image changed to show the first human ambassadors. They were tall compared to most species. Their eyes faced forward like all predators. When they smiled, they showed their teeth. "I was at the first diplomatic meeting," said. "The human ambassador, a female named Park, was walking across a ceremonial bridge when the structure collapsed. She fell 30 meters onto stone." The chamber was completely silent. "Any of you would have died instantly." Ambassador Park stood up. She brushed dust from her clothing. She apologized for the inconvenience. Then she continued with the ceremony. She had broken 3 ribs. She did not mention this until after the negotiations were complete. Turned off the holographic display. "For 50 years, most of you have looked at humans with fear and disgust. You called them, you treated them as monsters. You kept them at the edge of galactic society. But you forgot something important." He looked around the chamber. Monsters can be useful, especially when facing other monsters. Far away, aboard the UENS Indomitable, Sergeant One was preparing his squad for ground combat. The Marine barracks was filled with activity. Soldiers checked their weapons and armor. Medical supplies were distributed. Everyone knew what they were flying toward. One stood before his squad, 12 soldiers who had trained together for 3 years. They were family now, closer than blood. "They are a fragile species," he said. "Low-gravity world, hollow bones. They cannot survive conditions that we would consider normal. When we land, we need to be careful around them. No sudden movements, no loud voices, and for the love of everything, do not try to shake hands with anyone." A soldier named raised his hand. "Sergeant, why are we doing this? They are not our allies. They are not part of any treaty with Earth." One was quiet for a moment, then he spoke softly. "Because they asked for help, because they are dying, because no one else will do anything." He looked at each of his soldiers in turn. "Because we are human, and this is what humans do." In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Du was having a different conversation. The chief medical officer was reviewing alien biology files with his team. They were fascinating from a medical standpoint. They were so different from humans in every way. "Their blood pressure is a fraction of ours," Du explained. "A human handshake could cause internal bleeding. A human hug could break their ribs. When we treat them, we need to use instruments designed for microsurgery. Our normal tools are too powerful." A young medic named looked worried. "Doctor, what about will we need to treat prisoners?" Du's expression hardened. "They are hardier than but they are still fragile compared to us. Their species evolved on a world with half our gravity. If we capture any alive, treat them carefully." "And if they do not want to be captured?" Du did not answer. Everyone knew what humans were capable of when pushed to violence. On the bridge, Captain Ho watched the stars streak past as the fleet traveled through faster-than-light space. In 3 more hours, they would reach the system. In 3 more hours, they would face the Dominion. His first officer, Dong Ho, approached with a data pad. "Sir, we have received a message from the commander, Warlord Thresh." Ho raised an eyebrow. "What does it say?" Dong Ho read from the pad. "Turn back now, primitives. Your interference is not welcome. Continue on your current course and you will be destroyed. This is your only warning." Ho smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Send a reply," he said. "Tell Warlord Thresh that we received his message. Tell him we are continuing on our current course. Tell him that we have a message of our own." "What message, sir?" Ho's smile grew wider, showing his teeth. "We are coming, and we are bringing the fury of a death world with us." The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. 200 human warships, weapons armed and ready. Before them, the armada waited like a wall of metal and death. 500 enemy ships against 200 human vessels. On every screen across the galaxy, species watched with held breath. The had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same.